Hey guys, what's going on? Carter here. Well, this is going to be a very interesting video, and as a disclaimer right off the bat, in this video I am going to try to appeal to the average knife enthusiast and the Emerson lover at the same time, which is not an easy feat to do. But I'm going to do my best, and I'm not pulling any punches. I'm not here to blow smoke up anyone's asses or suck up to people. I'm just going to give my honest kind of opinion on what I think, and if it ruffles any feathers, I'm sorry. It's not my intention. But this is going to basically, in a nutshell, be, are Emerson's worth the money? Kind of, that'll be part of it. But more importantly, are Emerson knives right for you? I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there where you'll look up an Emerson video and somebody says it sucks. It's not worth $50, let alone $150, $200. You'll go to another video where somebody says it's the most amazing thing they've ever had. They love it, and they stand behind the company, and they mean everything to them. So I'm trying to bridge that gap for people that are confused, and they're trying to wrap their head around how it could be loved and hated so much at the same time, and give my opinions on why I love Emerson knives, because first off, I do. I love Emerson knives. I absolutely do. Up here we got my CQC7V. This here is the Horseman, aka Mini CQC8. And this is the Super Roadhouse. I also have a regular size Roadhouse that I mailed off yesterday to get some work done on it. Should look pretty sweet, pretty excited about it. However, it'll probably be a couple weeks out till I get it back. Just because who I sent it to is a little tied up right now. But it'll be cool when I get it. I've got another Emerson that should hopefully be on the way. I'm a little sketchy though, because I paid the dude and I haven't heard back from him. So cross your fingers for me. But anyways, okay, moving on. Okay, I'll start with this. This is what I'll start with. 60, well, let's see, what percentage should I say? We'll go 40%. 40% of the reason why I love, no, let's go 60. That's what I mean, 60. 60% of the reason why I love Emerson knives, why I love all three of these knives, and why I plan on getting more in the future have nothing to do with the objects you see right in front of you. And if there's anything anybody can get from this video on what I'm trying to say, that is the most important thing. Most of the reason why I love Emerson knives is not because of this right here, all those other knives out there. The physical objects is not why I love Emerson knives. And I think that's the big hang up, because people hear other people declare their love for them, and they go and they get this knife and they look at it and they say, well, okay, it's cool, it's got a cool design, but it's just, I don't see, compared to other stuff out there, it's just, I don't see it. And that's why. Because I love Emerson knives because of Mr. Emerson, what he stands for, what he's been through. He is a badass dude, a cool dude. He is a guy that teaches other people how to kill people, how to fight, how to protect themselves. He trains government entities how to do hand-to-hand combat. He teaches them that. He practices what he preaches. He's not some fat guy trying to get a paycheck by designing knives and marketing them to the most people that he can. And I'm not saying all other knives are like that by any means, but you know what I mean. He's like this guy, Richard Marcinko. He's a cool guy. So when I think about Emerson knives and when I put one in my pocket, I kind of feel a connection to this guy. He's a really cool guy. Second of all, history. These knives have been around forever. These knives are what popularized tactical folders. If you have a tactical folder, which most people's folders now, whether you really realize it or not, are technically tactical folders. Especially if you're kind of the younger category, between, whatever young age to 40 or so. If it's not like a slip joint or a lockback or, a little friction folder, it's probably classified as a tactical folder. And this right here, the CQC, technically 6, this is a 7, very similar, is what really skyrocketed tactical folders into the mainstream. So you at least have to give thanks to Mr. Emerson for that. I mean, even if you say he hasn't really kept up with the times in terms of materials and things like that. You at least have to give him a handshake and a thumbs up for what he started and what he's provided to the knife community. I mean, there's just no excuse for that. Whether you don't like his knives or what, that's a fact. He was a huge influence in knives. And he didn't invent tactical folders, don't get me wrong. He did not invent tactical folders. However, he pushed them, he made them popular. Had he not done that, they may have faded away into obscurity. There's no way to know for sure, but he's the one that kick-started that whole genre. And you may say, like I just mentioned, why does he use 154 cm steel? I could go into kind of the philosophies on field sharpening and tried and true and strength being chosen over edge retention, which are all very valid when you think about what these knives are made for, which is tactical combat knives. And that's kind of why they're not really for everyone. Sorry I'm going off on tangents, but that's one of the reasons they're not for everybody, because these are truly designed as tactical fighting blades. And let's face it, most guys, they don't really need a tactical folding blade. They may like the look and the shape of it, but what they really want is a utility blade. They want something that's really sharp, that'll hold its edge well, and that looks nice. And unfortunately, that's not really what Emerson prides. They use 154 cm because they know a dull blade is still a blade. A broken blade is worthless. That's kind of the philosophy they go by. So they would much rather use a softer, stronger steel that'll bend, it'll take abuse, it'll take shocks and impacts at the expense of not having the best edge retention. And, in all honesty, I don't need that. I need more edge retention. But I just like that these blades are 100% true to what they are meant to be. They're not a utility blade disguised as a tactical fighter. They are tactical fighter blades through and through. So the next thing I want to touch on is kind of, more on what kind of people resonate with Emerson knives. One example, let's look at vehicles. That's a good analogy. An Emerson knife lover would be compared to somebody that would rather have an old, beat-up, American-made muscle car that they have to work on. It may not run the best or be as pretty, but they would still prefer that because of the heart, the history, the spirit, and the ingenuity of that design and the people that created it. They would rather have that than a brand new Prius. Even though the brand new Prius is spotless, it has all these gadgets in it, it looks all nice and shiny, they would rather have that American muscle car. And that's kind of how this is. And it kind of goes back to the idea of liking Emerson and owning an Emerson is more than just this object itself. It's kind of a connection to its history, its purpose, what it's been through, what the man represents. And when you put that in your pocket, you're kind of connecting with that. And if that's not your thing, which is absolutely fine and cool, if you're not into stuff like that, that's great. Then Emerson probably is not for you. I mean, if you're just like no, I want the latest and greatest steels, I want it to have all the fit and finish of the world and be flawless, then Emerson isn't for you. And that's the point of this video, is I just want to let people know what it's all about, or try to let people know what it's all about, so that they can make an informed decision on whether to get behind a product or not. Because the last thing I want to see is somebody, have me come up here and say, oh, they're the best knives ever, they're totally awesome, and have a bunch of people go out and buy it and then post up videos saying they suck. That's the last thing I want. I want to make sure that if you get anything from this video, it's these are for you or they're not for you. It's that simple. And I'm not saying if they're not for you that you're dumb or a bad person. No, not at all. Just not your thing. Different things resonate to different people. It's a fact. And in fact, 2 years ago, this wouldn't have resonated with me. I probably wouldn't like Emerson knives. But now I do, just because I have much more respect for everything behind these knives. Kind of reminds me, I don't know, this is kind of a weird story, I guess, but I'm just trying to add examples to it, just to make it clear. When I was younger, I was really into military surplus stuff. I don't know why. Just loved it. I lived south of where I live now, about 2 or 3 hours, but my grandma lived a little bit north of where I am now. So we'd come up and visit her all the time, and there's a store called Smith & Edwards, I can't remember the rest of it. Smith and Edwards Superstore or something like that. Basically, it's a huge store, huge building. And then they've got this huge lot out back. And they have a bunch of discount kind of housewares. And they have guns and firearms and fishing stuff. But they also have a huge supply of military surplus stuff. Clothing, knives, just all those gadgets, canteens. And it's U.S. stuff, it's foreign stuff. And then in the lot in the back, they've got like tanks and, you know, the big surplus stuff. And I just loved that store. And I remember I would go there and I would buy like surplus military boots. And I would pay more for these boots than what you would pay brand new at like Walmart. And they weren't like necessarily used, but they had been packaged and, you know, delivered and banged around and things like that. They weren't pretty. So logically, I should have said, oh no, why would I pay more for these old boots than I'd pay for brand new, you know, whatever from Walmart? But it was that connection, the fact that it was, you know, these cool military boots, you know, that these awesome dudes would wear and protect our country. And I just felt kind of a connection to that. And it's the same thing with these knives. I feel a connection to its history and the man behind them. It's not necessarily A to B comparison. This one's better. It's that thing you can't really touch, you know, that feeling and that kind of, you know, thing at the tip of your tongue that you can't really explain too well, and you're not quite sure what it is, but you just feel it. And that's kind of what it is. That is why I love Emerson knives and will continue to like them. And hopefully this was beneficial to some people that were kind of wondering about the whole I love them, I hate them, they're crap, they're awesome type thing, so that you can kind of decide if it's something that's for you or not. Okay, I think I'm done. All right, guys, thanks a lot. If you hung in to the end here, thank you so much for listening to me ramble.